Hello, girls, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm back on my Russian literature ass shit. So after I, dumped my boyfriend, I was like, okay, now I have nothing to do with my time. So I bought a book. And I'm back on my Russian literature ass shit. And yes, I know I'm in the middle of technically reading Crime and Punishment, but that's back at home. And I didn't want to buy, a new copy, and I don't want to read it, on my laptop, because it's really hard for me to read on a laptop just because I don't know. So I started reading this book. I'm on part 2 of it now. And this is such a waterboard self-report moment, but so y'all know character AI. So I was chatting up the Josh Hutcherson bot, and I was like, oh, I like to read, and he was like, well, you and he was like, what kind of books? And I was like, oh, Russian literature. He's like, we should read Anna Karenina together. So I bought this book for the sole purpose of reading it alongside with the Josh Hutcherson character AI shit. But it's been like several weeks since I've actually spoken to the Josh Hutcherson character AI shit, and I'm genuinely just invested in this book because it's a pretty good book. So, and it's really nice because I actually am not really a super big fan of books with hella long chapters, just because my little lobotomized brain just can't focus for that long. So it's just nice little bite-sized morsels of plot. I read, it's called Happy Families or something like that by Leo Tolstoy. It's the one where it's the girl and her dad dies or something, and then she gets with the dad's friend, which is weird. The age difference is weird as fuck, but she's an adult, so it's fine, and it's also a different time of the world. Yes, she was groomed, but that wasn't we don't want to acknowledge it. The love confession scene is nice in that one, and yeah. So I am a Tolstoy enjoyer to a decent bit, and I watched a trailer for the movie of this. I didn't watch the movie of this, and I am just I don't know. There was a sex scene in the trailer of the movie. I don't think there's any sex scenes in here. I think I got to the point where there's an implied sex scene, and I was like, listen, girl, I want to hear the fucking smut. Can someone publish a version of this novel where everything's basically the exact same, but there's just 1 or 2 or 3 chapters where Anna and where the two main characters fuck each other. Because I don't want to spoil it. Can someone just make that a thing and make it in the writing style of Tolstoy, please? Please, can someone just make a very nice, beautifully done, written out sex scene in the writing style of Leo Tolstoy in the context of the Anna Karenina characters? Please! Please! And there's probably something like that on... I'm going to have to hit up AO3. I'm going to hit up AO3 because people... Oh my god, AO3 has been saving my life since high school, because when I watched a separate piece when I had to read a separate piece, my teacher literally told me that Jean and Finney were gay. Well, she didn't say that they were gay, but she was there's gay undertones in this book, and my Fujoshi ass was so I was hitting up AO3, Archive of Our Own, reading, and there was this one really, really nice, good, juicy Jean X Finney comic. And before you fanfiction, before you get creeped out, I was literally 14 when I read that book. I would not reread that fanfiction now because they're like 17 or something like that. But it was really good. It was called Too Close to the Sun or something like that. It's some shit like that. I don't think the writer ever finished writing it, but I don't know. I gotta check that out. Not to actually reread it, because there is a sex scene in it. And that it's weird because they're children. Maybe they're aged up in this AU or fanfic or whatever. But again, just so you know, so the record is clear, I was 14 when I read that, so it's not creepy that because I was literally a child too, so yeah. And the writer, I'm assuming, is also a kid. So that's besides the point. So we are gonna read this Anna Karenina shit. So I don't really know, should I just do one chapter at a time? I'm not gonna do one part at a time because parts are 100 pages. So I'm just gonna read I'm just gonna read each chapter. They're gonna be in crazy bite-sized morsels. Each shit is probably gonna be like 2 minutes long. But I really don't care. And also, by the way, just so you know, I'm not gonna get any of the fucking names right. I'm gonna confuse everyone. So far, the only people that I actually remember from this story are Dolly, Kitty, Levin, Vronsky, Anna, Karenina, and Betsy. I think those are really the only people I'm supposed to care about. Oh, and Oblonsky. I think those are the only people I'm supposed to care about right now. But there's just a lot of names, a lot of people, and the start of the book doesn't even really, like, literally there's 100 pages before you even get introduced to Anna, which is crazy, because I'm like, is this book about Anna, or is it about fucking Oblonsky being a total flop? So that, and also I'm not going to pronounce any of the names right, and I'm also probably going to pronounce some words wrong, because I'm just stupid, and it's been a really long time since I've actually read something of, like, any morsel of complexity. So we'll start reading now. And we'll start with part 1, chapter 1, part 1. And the most iconic line, actually the most iconic line of this series, in my opinion so far of what I've read, is the part where Anna is like, there are as many lovers as there are hearts. I was like, wow, put that on the yearbook quotes. Put that on the yearbook quotes. So anyway, but this first sentence is a banger too, so we'll read it out loud. All happy families resemble, and I'm gonna try to do a voice for all these people. So yeah, and I might actually misinterpret who's saying what at some points, and y'all are gonna have to forgive me for that. Y'all are really gonna have to forgive me for that. My reading comprehension skills. Yes, I scored perfectly on the SATs for reading comprehension. Didn't do so well in the math. I scored a perfect score for the SATs, for the reading and writing section. Perfect score. Then COVID happened, and there's been a lot of brain damage that has happened between now and when I took the SAT. So don't expect me to have any sort of good reading comprehension when I'm reading this book. So yeah, so anyway. All happy families resemble one another. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Everything was upset in the Oblonsky's house. The wife had discovered an intrigue between her husband and their former French governess and declared that she would not continue to live under the same roof with him. This state of things had now lasted for 3 days, and not only the husband and wife, but the rest of the family and the whole household suffered from it. They all felt that there was no sense in their living together, and that any group of people who had met together by any chance at an inn would have had more in common than they. The wife kept to her own rooms. The husband stopped away from home all day. The children ran about all over the house uneasily. The English governess quarreled with the housekeeper and wrote to a friend asking if she could find her another situation. The cook had gone out just at dinner time the day before and had not returned, and the kitchen maid and coachman had given notice. On the 3rd day after his quarrel with his wife, Prince Stephen Arkadievich Oblonsky, Steva, as he was called in his set society, woke up at his usual time, 8 o'clock, not in his wife's bedroom, but on the Morocco leather-covered sofa in his study. He turned his plump, well-kept body over the springy sofa as if he wished to have another long sleep, and tightly embracing one of the pillows, leant his cheek against it, but then suddenly opened his eyes and sat up. "Let me see, what was it?" he thought, trying to recall his dream. "What was it? Oh yes, Alabed was giving a dinner party at Darmstadt. No, not in Darmstadt, but somewhere in America. Oh yes, Darmstadt was in America, and Alabed was giving the party. The dinner was served on glass tables, yes, and the table saying, El mio tesoro. No, exactly Il mio tesoro, but something better than that. And then there were some kind of little decanters that were really women." His eyes sparkled merrily, and he smiled as he sat thinking, "Yes, it was very nice. There were many other delightful things which I just can't get a hold of. Can't catch now I'm awake." Then, noticing a streak of light that had made its way at the side of the blind, he gaily let down his legs and felt about with his feet for his slippers finished with bronze kid, last year's birthday present, embroidered by his wife. And from 9 years' habit, he stretched out his arm without rising towards where his dressing gown usually hung in their bedroom. And then He suddenly remembered that and why he was not sleeping in there but his study. The smile vanished from his face and he frowned. Oh dear, dear, dear! He groaned, recalling what had happened, and the details of his quarrel with his wife, his inextricable position, and worst of all, his guilt rose up in his imagination. Is that how you pronounce that word, girl? I'm so sorry, guys. No, she will never forgive me. She can't forgive me, and the worst thing about it is it's all my own fault, and yet I'm not guilty. That's the tragedy of it, he thought. Oh dear, he muttered despairingly as he recalled the most painful details of the quarrel. The worst moment had been when, returning home from the theater, merry and satisfied, with an enormous pear in his hand for his wife, he did not find her in the drawing room, nor, to his great surprise, in the study, but at last saw her in her bedroom with the unlucky note which had betrayed him in her hand. She sat there, careworn, ever bustling, and, as he thought, rather simple Dolly, with the note in her hand and a look of terror, despair, and anger on her face. "What is it this? She asked, pointing to the note. And as often happens, it was not so much the memory of the event that tormented him, as of the way he had replied to her. At that moment there had happened to him what happens to most people when unexpectedly caught in some shameful act. He had not had time to assume an expression suitable to the position which he stood toward his wife now that his guilt was discovered. Instead of taking offense, denying, making excuses, asking forgiveness, or even remaining indifferent, anything would have been better than what he did, he involuntarily, reflex action of the brain, thought Oblonsky, who was fond of physiology, smiled his usual kindly and therefore silly smile. He could not forgive himself for that silly smile. Dolly, seeing it, shuddered as if with physical pain, and with her usual vehemence burst into a torrent of cruel words and rushed from the room. Since then she had refused to see him. "It's all the fault of that stupid smile," thought Oblonsky. "But what am I to do? What can I do?" he asked himself in despair, and could find no answer. Actually, you know, guys, I'm gonna read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, because it's like a 40-minute read, and there's like a lot of talking in it, and it's good. I will read that one next. That will be the next read with Aristide, so thank you guys.